Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Thursday, March 27th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the Sweet 16 matchups for today as the Sweet 16 kicks off, as well as the MLB season. But we're staying away from both of those in this segment. We turn our attention to the NBA. We talked a little bit about it in the first segment, but our NBA power rankings, fresh off the presses here, coming to you in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw it in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday, March 27th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our NBA power rankings for this week, starting off, as we always do, with number 30. The Utah Jazz here are the 30th best team in basketball. They are at the bottom for a reason. They've only won 2 out of their last 15 games. That ties them for the worst record in that stretch. They did beat the Washington Wizards, so congratulations to them. But they are the worst team in basketball right now, and it isn't necessarily close. This is a team that doesn't even have a lot of positive spins you can put on it, and because of that, the Utah Jazz are number 30. At number 29, we have those Washington Wizards. They haven't been good either. They have been bad, as you expected. They are tied for the worst record in the NBA with the Utah Jazz. Both have 16 wins. The Wizards have one less loss, though. We'll see what happens as they play the Pacers, or are playing the Pacers tonight, I should say. The Washington Wizards, no, they're bad. They've got Alex Sarr, who's been averaging basically 20 points over his last month or so. He's been amazing. The Washington Wizards have a lot to look forward to, but they're one of just 4 teams at the bottom here that have been eliminated from the playoffs so far. So they're competing for Cooper Flag, really. At 28, we have those Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets get a massive win recently, but it's just not enough. This is a Charlotte Hornets team that is still floundering near the bottom of the league, and at the end of the day, they too are in that Cooper Flag sweepstakes, losing 3 in a row up to this point. Then 27, we have the Pelicans. It's a shame, because when you see this team healthy, this team for sure is probably like a 7 or 8 seed in the Western Conference. Instead, they're eliminated from the playoffs. Zion has just not been able to play as much as they need him to. They trade away Brandon Ingram. The rest of the team, CJ McCollum dealing with injuries. Everybody up and down the roster has been hurt, which is a shame because I really like the way that this Pelican squad is built. And I think if they can be healthy next season, they could be one of those teams that makes a huge jump. The Brooklyn Nets, here at 26, they finally figured out how to lose. It's been a long time, but they are back to their losing ways. They were a team that started off really hot. They've had a couple random explosions from pretty solid guys, but now sitting at 23-50, tied with the 76ers, losers of 5 in a row, 2-8 over their last 10. This is a Brooklyn Nets team that is finally tanking the way they needed to. I guess at the end of the day, everything works out how they planned it, right? The Sixers are tied with them in the standings. They're here above them at 25. They're only here above them because, well, I think they have a little bit more hope right now. I don't really expect that to mean much to 76ers fans, but the hope is potentially you get a healthy season out of Paul George and Joel Embiid next season. Potentially you get the number 1 overall pick too. You're only 7 games back of the Wizards, or 7 games up on the Wizards, I should say, really. But who knows? Maybe they make a big 4 right there. That would be pretty crazy. I just don't see it happening. They're down there at number 25. Continuing with the trash heap, we've got the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are getting some solid minutes out of their guys, but this just is not a year for them. Maybe next year they can get back to that 10 seed in the East. They're not dead yet. They're still 5.5 games back of the Heat, who have been ice cold recently. Although, as we'll get to them, they have gone a little mini win streak here recently. So maybe they're not as dead as we think. We'll see about the Raptors. At 23, we have the Spurs. They've been above 500 since De'Aaron Fox announced that he's done for the season. That was something I expected a little while ago. Right when Victor Wembanyama went down, I thought he would shut it down. Instead, he played a little bit longer. Didn't work out. This team is all in on next season, as they should be. At 22, we've got the Miami Heat. They are holding on to dear life for that final spot in the play-in, that 10 seed. They're 2-8 over their last 10. They had lost 10 straight games. Then all of a sudden, Andrew Wiggins decides to figure out how to play basketball. 72 points over 2 outings there. They took care of business against Jimmy Butler and the Warriors. This team is just not it anymore. It's a shame because this is a team that was consistently dangerous in the playoffs. They're just a little bit too down in the dirt. They're probably going to lose in that play-in game. At number 21, we have the Portland Trail Blazers. With the way that the Suns are playing, with the way that Dallas is getting a little healthier, they're getting AD back, I think the run for Portland is just about over. Still only 3 games out of a play-in spot. It's not done yet. But unless something crazy happens, unless the Mavs once again get hit by another string of awful luck, unless the Suns somehow fall back apart because they've been playing good basketball as of late, I just don't see the Blazers finding a way into the play-in, although there is a shot because the Kings not playing great. Again, only 3.5 games back of them. They're not dead yet. I like this Blazers team a lot, but I think they're just about done. At number 20, we've got the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, their additions from the trade deadline have worked out admirably for them. Georges Niang been playing really good for them. This is a Hawks team that pretty comfortably in the East play-in. They're not necessarily going to be that team that is super dangerous, but maybe if Milwaukee continues to fall, they can slide up to that 6th spot, maybe? We'll see. We'll see about that. A couple teams might want that ahead of them, including the Chicago Bulls, who are just red hot right now, 8-2 over their last 10 appearances. The Chicago Bulls have figured something out, which might lead them back to what we expected, a 500 season and a loss in the play-in. The Chicago Bulls are kind of stuck in this mediocrity. I'm really curious how they handle this offseason, especially with guys like Josh Giddey up for contract again. At number 18, we have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings fall out of that top 15 that honestly had been pretty set for the last month or so of us doing power rankings. The Kings have lost 4 straight games. They got a big win over the Cleveland Cavaliers, but now they're in danger of falling out of that play-in spot. Half a game up on the Suns and the Mavs, who currently hold that 10-11 spot. Only 3.5 games up on the Portland Trail Blazers. They need to figure something out. Otherwise, they are not going to make the play-ins this year, which would really suck for them because they've been playing solid basketball. At number 17, we have the Orlando Magic. On the flip side of things, this is the team that's getting healthy, right? You've got Franz Wagner back. You've got Paolo Banchero back. This is a team that also took care of business against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are half a game back of the Atlanta Hawks, 5.5 games back of the Milwaukee Bucks for that final playoff spot. There is a real shot that this Orlando Magic team that has won 3 straight is starting to get healthy again, can make some noise in the playoffs. This is what we've been waiting for. They're playing at a really good level right now. They just need to stay healthy. Maybe then they can find a way in. At number 16, we're back down to that play-in playoff spot with the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks here are getting Anthony Davis back. That is huge for them. If Anthony Davis can come back and be what he is, they should make their way into the play-ins, which is crazy to think after everything that's gone on with them this season that they can still be playing post-regular season basketball. There was a chance they were going to have to forfeit games for a second there. That would be wild. I'm really curious about this race down the stretch with them and our number 15 team, the Phoenix Suns, who currently are tied in the standings. The Suns have that edge with a tiebreaker, so they're currently sitting in that 10 spot, but they're both 35 and 38. They both have been kind of struggling over their last 10 games, although I will say the Phoenix Suns have started to figure something out. Kevin Durant is playing amazing basketball right now. Their defense is starting to pick it up, but this is going to be real tough. They're still dealing with injuries. I'm very curious how this race is going to play out in the bottom of the West. Back to the East for our number 14 team, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Milwaukee Bucks got some bad injury news. They found out that Damian Lillard out indefinitely. That is going to kill their dreams of another ring for Giannis. This is a whole nother thing that we'll get into later on in our show about how this might affect the future of Giannis with the Bucks. But for now, this is going to hurt their play on the court. They're still missing Bobby Portis. He's still serving his 25-game suspension. He should be back soon. I just don't know if it's enough for the Bucks to really make a lot of noise. And like we've been hinting at, the Hawks and the Magic are both creeping up right now, trying to take that 6th spot away from the Bucks. We'll see what happens, though. At number 13, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were playing out of their mind last week. They're still playing good basketball, but overall, this is a Timberwolves team that isn't as scary as they seemed to be last week. They're still 7-3 over their last 10 games, but this Timberwolves team, with only half a game out of that 6th seed, has a lot to fight for. This Western Conference is real jumbled up near the lines. There is not a single seed other than the number 1 seed that really is locked up right now. No one should feel safe, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are coming for you guys. Same thing with our number 12 team in the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are just half a game up on the Minnesota Timberwolves there, and the big question is, when is Steph Curry going to come back? Because as we saw, but pre-Jimmy Butler, this team cannot survive with just one star. Steph Curry going down is a tough break for them. They are 15-2 with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry both playing. They need them both back in the worst possible way if they want to make any kind of noise, which they were real hot before. They need Steph and Jimmy playing on their best possible game. At number 11, the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons continue to take advantage of an Eastern Conference that is just letting them run through, right? The Pistons now 5th seed pretty comfortably, probably not going to fall any lower than that. They'll get an interesting matchup if the season ended today versus the Indiana Pacers, who are only a game and a half up on them. Maybe we find a way that the Detroit Pistons are all the way up to that number 4 seed. We'll see. Because that number 10 on our list is the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers just got heartbroken against LeBron James and the Lakers, of course, with that tip in right at the end, buzzer beater to win the game for LeBron and the Lakers. They're still pretty hot right now, 7-3 over their last 10, but this is a Pacers team that kind of is up and down. Benedict Matherin's been playing really good recently, but this is a Pacers team that I still struggle to trust in the long run. At number 9, we have the Clippers. How about the resurgence of this Clippers squad? I thought they were done after this offseason. Instead, they're playing really good. They're up into the 6th seed in the West. They're tied with the Warriors, but they've got the tiebreaker there. They are not out of anything. With the way that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard have been playing over the last 11 games, this is a scary, scary team. They're averaging 53 points combined together, 42% from 3. This is a duo that is starting to show its true potential. Going to be curious when it comes to playoff time, but this is the Clippers team that I think is very scary right now. The Lakers at number 8 snapped a pretty bad losing streak. The Lakers needed a win in the worst possible way. LeBron James was struggling. Only 2 points in the first half, was in danger of snapping his record-setting and still growing double-digit point streak that he currently has. This is a Lakers team that is going to get better as the time goes, but the defense is a little bit concerning. We'll see what happens as they get healthier. The Knicks at number 7 desperately need Jalen Brunson back, right? Injuries can be the story of a lot of these teams in this 11, 12 to 5 range, right? The Knicks have been 500 basketball team without Jalen Brunson, but that's not enough. They need him back in the worst possible way. He is the reason that this Knicks team works. Without him, they're just a really solid team. At number 6, we've got the Grizzlies. Again, injuries. JJJ dealing with injuries. Ja dealing with injuries. If they can get healthy for the playoffs, this is a team that can be dangerous, but they need to get healthy for the playoffs, and that's definitely not a 100% guarantee. Getting into the top 5 here, we have the Denver Nuggets. Jokic missed 5 games with injury, his biggest stretch of missing a season. The Denver Nuggets did an admirable job in that stretch, going 2-3 over that stretch. But he comes back and casually drops a 39-point triple-double. You know, Jokic doing Jokic things. The Denver Nuggets are a different beast with and without him, and because of that, I can't really put them anywhere less than 5, especially when he's out there on the court. At number 4, we've got the Houston Rockets. How about the Rockets? All the way back, claiming that number 2 seed right now. They've got a bigger gap between the 2 and the 3 seed than just about every other seed has with each other at a game and a half right now, which doesn't sound like a lot. But the Young Bucks over there in Houston are playing good basketball right now, and as long as they can keep it up, this is a team that could get a favorable matchup in the West. The Celtics at number 3, though, top 3 teams have been the top 3 teams all year. You've got the Celtics at number 3, although they're scary, starting to turn it on. Maybe we wrote them off a little too soon, and they're a team that I think could go for a back-to-back championship kind of run here in the playoffs. The Cavs at number 2 fall 1 spot from last week. They've been a little bit of a skid. They broke it, though. They've still got 58 wins, but they're a little bit behind the number 1 team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. One of the craziest stats that I've seen this week is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has 20-plus points in 65 straight games. That makes him the 4th player ever in NBA history to make that accomplishment, joining the likes of Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, and Wilt. That is crazy. That is a crazy list to have. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander most likely going to win MVP this season, and the Oklahoma City Thunder back at the top of the power rankings at number 1. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the NBA power rankings? What do you think of where these teams stand? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the MLB. Opening day is today. It's been going on all day. We've got 14 games throughout the whole day today. We're going to talk about the power rankings as the season kicks off. We'll be right back here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.